and welcome to my podcast, Soul Expansion and Inspiration. This is Series 3, Episode 8, and my name is Allie O'Shea. I'd like to give a very, very warm welcome to some very special guests today, Kasey and Brad Wallace. How you doing, guys?
We're doing wonderful.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so happy to be here. Always have had such a great conversation with you last time, Allie, and when we got the invitation from you and got everything all set up, sometimes we get that, all right, we're doing this show, and it definitely has that energy for us.
Oh, it's so buzzy. I love it. I love you guys. And, you know, I was so honored to be asked to be a guest on your show, Extraordinary Experiences. So I'd like to first of all introduce you properly and say that you guys actually channel some beings, or maybe you can correct whether I'm right in the term beings, Julius, they're called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kind of refer to them as an ascended masters group. So the reason we finally came up kind of with that clearer identity is the majority of the members of this kind of collective have actually been human. So they've walked on this earth ship, gone through pretty much everything we're going through, that we've gone through, struggled through all of their pains and sufferings, and navigated their own way through the conscious ascension process, ascending themselves off of the earth ship like so many thousands of beings have. Yeah. And so that's kind of fun and unique, because a lot of energies that people channel have not been human. You know, they sit in the astral plane or the ethereal plane, or perhaps even in just the fifth dimension, or they're angelic, or they're archangels. And those messages are incredible, and they're valuable. Julius's messages are very tangible in the human experience, which is kind of fun. So we get to hang out with those people.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that. Oh, wow. So they walked on this earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And would you know how many sort of beings there are, like, in the actual group?
Yes.
Yeah. How many? Go ahead. Punch it out there.
Go ahead.
49.
There's 49.
There's 49 in the group.
There's 49 in the group, but they cannot all 49 assemble at the same time, because of an agreement that has been made through generation after generation that they would never get back together as a whole, due to an experience that happened in a couple previous lifetimes ago, where they had gotten in a lot of trouble.
they got in a little trouble. They're mischievous, stirring up stuff here on the.
But they are male and female.
Oh, so were they naughty humans?
Well, we wouldn't say not. Well, in their human experience, of course, going through all the good and bad systematic processes that we go through in our multiple incarnated lives. You know, we're horribly tyrannical, we're prisoners, we're the deceivers, we're the carriers of truth. We do all of these fractalized versions of ourselves. The collective of Julius is a sixth level of conscious teaching group. That basically, Allie, that means that they empower everybody, and that's very dangerous here on the earth ship. As you know, from civilization to civilization, the most dangerous thing to those that control are those that empower. And so they've had their fair share of all of that. And so now they kind of, I like to use the word, trickle themselves down like raindrops for information for people, though there is this mass collective of energy force that resides kind of up in a sixth plane. It all just kind of works itself out.
Wow, that's amazing. And you'll have to forgive my dogs in the background barking there.
Okay.
I was going to say,
we have animals on the farm too, so we're good.
You know what?
They were ours.
It's because of the fireworks here. There's still people setting fireworks off, even though it's illegal here.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
What's illegal?
Right, humans.
Just you, Brad, hey? So I'd like to ask you guys, because it's a very unusual occurrence, well, maybe it's not, but it's not one that I'd heard of before, that Kasey, you yourself let Julius speak through and use your voice, your vocal cords, but yet, Bradley, you still hear or get the downloads of the blocks of thought of Julius as well, which is incredible. So I'd like to know how all of that came about for you guys. Where did this amazing, incredible, extraordinary experience begin for you guys?
Well, I'll start with, everything started about 13 years ago when my oldest daughter, who was about 18 years old at the time, answered a job call here locally to go to work for Brad's construction company. She took the position of being Brad's kind of private secretary, one of his private secretaries, answering the phone, scheduling for him, and things like that. So,
always being at my beck and call.
Yeah.
That's basic. I was not a very nice person.
Yeah.
And I always needed somebody available when I was going to call, because I had so many things going on. Our construction company was huge. And she answered the call.
Yeah. And I it's kind of funny because, I kind of hear from my daughter that, kind of what a jerk Brad was at work, but they worked things out. Kimberly had only worked for Brad for about 6 months. Now, I did meet Brad at this time. I actually was a hairstylist. I'm a hairstylist and had a hair salon here in town at that time. I think I cut his hair once. Didn't say much to him at the time. And Kimberly was actually at my studio, at my salon, when she got a phone call that Brad had been in a massive car accident in town. And it was bad. He sustained a massive brain injury. And of course, we all felt terrible that Brad was in this horrible car accident. And Allie, that night I had a dream, and I received this information that I was supposed to help Brad. I'm like, help Brad do what? Like, what's that got to do with me? I don't even know this person, right?
Wow.
Through a series of events, Brad's life fell apart very quickly in about those first couple of months. His business partner, who was didn't have very high integrity, took the opportunity to embezzle all the money from his company at that time, sell off all the equipment, and things like that.
It was just an opportunity.
It was a great opportunity.
That's the only way you could really look at it, was an opportunity for them to show who they truly were. And it came to the forefront. Well, what that did was it left me basically alone with no money, no resources, and
almost fully incapacitated.
What do you do?
Yeah. So Brad had outreach to Kimberly to help him. Could she take him to his doctor's appointment? Could she take him and get him his medications? And so Kimberly and I shouldn't have even said her name. She's going to kill me for saying her name. That's all right. So her and I kind of became Brad's caregivers at that time. Through a continued series of events, Brad sustained a massive brain injury. So for anybody who is familiar with brain injuries, they'll fully understand with me even just saying that, the complexity of his life at that time. But for those of you who don't have experience with brain injuries, it's a debilitating, disconnecting. It just destroys most
everything.
People. Yeah, he doesn't have the ability to reason. He doesn't have the ability to process. And on top of that, he's layered with lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit because of the entanglement with the corporation and this person leaving him liable with taxes and da-da-da-da. So Brad's life was crashing down very hard.
And it was relentless.
Yeah, daily.
It was every day somebody was showing up. They were catching me as I was walking into the hospital to get some treatment.
Yeah, serving
me
with papers.
It was a great experience. Let me put it that way.
Because of that, Brad's extraordinarily high stress level and his brain injury, one of his doctors prescribed a sleeping medication for Brad because he was not sleeping at night. And we had dropped Brad off at the property one night and said goodnight to him, headed to town, and Brad took it upon himself to try to kill himself.
I swallowed the whole bottle.
Yeah, swallowed the whole bottle with a gallon of wine.
And drank a gallon of wine with it.
And about 2 hours after we dropped him off, I got another very strong intuitive hit that something was massively wrong with Brad. We live about 30 minutes from Brad, and we got in the car and headed to his house, found Brad unconscious and non-responsive on the floor, and I started CPR on Brad. It took about 30 minutes for the emergency crew to arrive, and during that time, Allie, he was having an out-of-body near-death experience.
I was gone. I was watching them work on me.
Wow.
On the floor, and everybody running around trying to figure out what in the world was going on. There were police everywhere. The sheriff's department was everywhere. All the medical personnel. I was pretty well. I'm pretty well known up in this area of where we live, and so everybody came to see what was going on and, you know, basically what they could do. So I'm watching all of that go on, and then at the same time, I'm experiencing the other side. Okay. And it's trying to explain it to people. The easiest way to explain it is it's the picture in picture, you know, on your television, when you get the picture inside of a picture or outside of a picture. That's what it was like, because I'm watching everything happen down here or here, and then I'm having this unbelievably fabulous experience on the other side. And
with Julius,
I got introduced back with Julius.
Yeah. And so Brad's having this, it was an 8-hour experience. So we transport Brad to the hospital. They've got him in an ICU. We're in there. They're pumping his stomach, blah, blah. He's not going to live. You know, the doctors are telling me that, you know, 4 of these sleeping pills would kill somebody, and he's taken the whole bottle, and we basically should just tell him goodbye. And he's just having a great old time with Julius. I mean, you know, the clock is ticking away, and everybody's gone home. And just imagine this, you know, people have asked over the years, what would you ask this person, this energy, this
what would you ask anybody?
What would you ask them?
What would be the first, honestly, what would be the first thing that would come out of your mouth? People don't ever think of that.
Yeah.
You know? And of course, the first thing that I had gotten asked was, do you want to go back? But I immediately knew, the minute that that question was asked, I immediately got the understanding, which is the way it works. The minute you think of something on the other side, it's instantaneous. You're either there or you're experiencing it. I knew I was going to come, if I came back, I was coming back to the body that I just left.
Right.
Because they're keeping me alive. So I'm coming back. And it took me a few minutes to make that decision. Do I really want to go through all of that, learn how to walk again, how to talk again, how to do everything over? Am I going to do everything over in my life?
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to do? And at that moment, I went into my negotiating skills and I said, well, I'll go back. Yep, I'll go back. But you're coming with me, because nobody's ever going to believe my experience, and nobody's ever going to believe any of this, because this goes so contrary to what I've been taught, how I've been raised, and what I understand to be the other side to be about. And they looked at me and said, oh, don't worry about that. We've already taken care of it.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so
they had met with Kasey.
So when Brad woke up in the hospital room, I was sitting out in the lobby. It was, you know, early morning hours. And the doctor came out and said, he's awake and he's asked for you. And I said, okay. And I walked in the room, and just as I crossed the threshold into Brad's room, I started trans-channeling Julius back to Brad. So the doctor leaves the room. He doesn't know what's going on.
Out.
Brad's laughing, and basically, of course, Julius is assuring him of what he experienced was real, that they were here, there was work to be done. They were first going to work on getting Brad's brain recalibrated and reactivated. Now, That's really, I think, why they use me, because Brad could hardly talk at that time. He couldn't process his own thoughts once re-entering back into the physical body.
Yeah, what a lot of people don't understand, with brain injury, I had gotten clear back to the point in my life where I could only deal with one, and I'm meaning one problem until it was resolved. Yeah. And do you know how long it takes to resolve one problem with a brain injury? No. Sometimes weeks. It just doesn't leave your consciousness until you've got it completely resolved. So here I am doing one little thing at a time, and they're just blabbering away at me. Come on, man, come on, let's get this going. Let's get, they're great motivators, great. They really, it was the school of hard knocks, really. But that's what I needed. Yeah. To get to that point. And that's why they channel through her, because I still have residual effects sometimes of the brain injury, where my brain will just get to a point where it'll just totally shut off and it just doesn't want to deal with anything anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. So for the first year, our life was very strange. I would come and see Brad.
But you weren't a couple at this stage.
We were obviously we were starting to draw ourselves together very powerfully. That kind of goes unsaid. I tell everybody that we really dropped ourselves right back in the middle of our relationship. We didn't begin our relationship here this time around. We clearly know that. So the intensity level between us was not average, which is the drive of everything, of the puzzle starting to piece itself back together. My life wasn't much more in order at the time. I was recently divorced. I'm taking care of my kids. I'm running a business. I'm helping him. He's flying off the charts in reactiveness and anger and stuff because he's got a brain injury. I'm channeling this thing. I don't know what this is. I don't like it because I'm a trans channel, and so I don't remember the conversations. At that time, I was just exhausted afterwards. I didn't like this. It was a strange juggling. So for the first year, Julius focused on Brad. Everything was about, getting him pieced back together. He was kind of Humpty Dumpty, piecing him back together and letting us know that we had this thing that we do. We teach, we empower people, we change the planet, we change the earth, and I'm going, what? I got to go to the market and buy macaroni and cheese for dinner tonight. I don't have time to save the planet, right? And it was crazy. And it was nothing that I could control. After about a year, I finally kind of came to my wits' ends with it, to be honest with you. And I said, I don't like this.
There was an ultimatum that was...
What's in it for me? I basically told Brad, I'm like, I'm not doing this. You're really probably only with me because of Julius.
Well, it wasn't said that politely.
We're on an interview, so I can keep my mouth clean. And
oh my goodness.
For the human side of it, for all of your listeners out there, Allie, who are unpacking and unleashing their own powers, their intuitiveness, their beingness, before everybody kind of fully stands in the power of that, which usually takes a while, there's a gauntlet obstacle course that you go through first. Right. And you're making decisions at that time. Am I going to stay adhered to the human experience? Am I going to work to transcend my own self to the light experience so I can navigate my course? Days of yes, days of no. Those runners that show up, those little people show up along the way that you help, and then you're like, okay, maybe I should be doing this. And then you find somebody who would tell me I was the devil, I was channeling the devil, and Jesus is going to get me, that type of thing. And I'm like, so it's been interesting. Of course, now we are where we are now. For all the listeners who may not be familiar with where we are now, we're global workshop leaders now. Yeah. And things have really smooth themselves out with Julius. And so, of course, it's created or help or assist us to create everything that we're doing now.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing with me. I didn't know about all of that background. Maybe I did know a little bit about Brad earlier on, but I've forgotten. I wanted to ask as well, you said that you trans channel. So for anyone who doesn't understand what that means, would you mind just clarifying what that means? Does it just mean that you don't remember channeling when you finished, or?
There's different forms of channeling. Mediumship, some will categorize mediumship as a form of channeling. Mediumship, to my understanding, is listening, consciously being able to listen the message and then deliver the message. You're very conscious in this. You're like the phone, okay?
You're the go-between.
Yeah, a trans channel means that my consciousness steps out of the way and Julius utilizes all of my facilities for communication. Once Julius exits and my consciousness kind of slides back over, it's kind of a sliding door effect, then there is a process of assimilation for me that occurs over the next day or so, or hours, or things like that. I can sometimes remember small, very small fragments of a conversation immediately following what took place, but generally not. And sometimes there's too much information. So like if I'm doing a reading for somebody, I never even remember any of that. I don't need to know that. Julia steps in, moves out, and I don't need to compute all of that stuff. But on the teachings that Julius does, and we do massive teachings for people to raise their consciousness, that information is valuable for me as well. So of course, I go through an assimilation process usually overnight. People have asked me, is there any part of your consciousness that's there? And I tell everybody, yeah, I think about 15 to 20%, mostly for safety purposes. So I'm not falling off the stage or
tripping over something. And, at events, they get pretty wound up at events, and she's got to at least have some.
Do they want to go crowd surfing, Brad?
Oh, they do.
Oh, crowd surfing puts it lightly, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Someone will be sitting in the audience and, they just want to ask a question, but they don't have the energy to do that. Boy, Julius will go right out into the middle of the audience and just grab them and say, "What is your question?"
Yeah.
And they get that panicked look on their face, so
yeah,
it's I laugh about it actually, but
there was a great movie. I'd love to say this to the audience. There was a movie back in the 80s called Cocoon. I don't know if anybody remembers that. And there's this great scene. So there's a fabulous movie. It's so relevant even today. These beautiful little light embodiments, that come in the little pods to Earth. And anyway, there was a scene with Steve Guttenberg in a swimming pool with Tawny Welsh, the actress Tawny Welsh. And Tawny Welsh is this light embodiment. She's got a human embodiment suit on. And she sends light over to Steve Guttenberg, and he gets this, erotic kind of experience with her of this power. And, it's like nothing he's ever experienced before. And that's kind of what it's like with me with Julius, or it used to be before I was able to kind of navigate my way through that energy.
Wow. I've talked to a lot of channelers. I actually interviewed a channeler, Ramona Gailey, the other week, and she said very similar to you guys, or to yourself, Kasey, that, she could kind of remember 20% kind of thing. So maybe it's a thing that, like what you say, it's a protection, a safety mechanism that a lot of people who channel sort of remember some of it, bits and bobs of it, but not really the full extent of it.
Well, I don't think I completely answered your question that you asked before, how come I actually hear the conversation?
True, yeah.
Part of that is a safety mechanism, because if they're in conversation and they miss a word or something that's very important for the audience, then I've agreed to be the responsible one to make sure that message gets to the people that are wanting to hear that message. So if there's something that's not said, or a word's been skipped over, or the translation wasn't correct, it's my responsibility basically to correct them and get the right message that is supposed to be out and given to everybody. because I can handle that.
Yeah, sometimes I think I can't grab a word, or I can't grab a phrase of what's coming through, and you'll see on camera, Julius will look over at Brad and
They'll
say,
point
give us
at
words,
me,
give us words.
give us a word,
Yeah.
give us a word,
Yeah.
what are we thinking about? What are we thinking about? You know, that's kind of an agreement. You know, the other thing that I know that we haven't said yet was, I was their teacher.
Okay.
In
another life.
In past life.
Yeah.
I was the one who taught them. They were my students.
Wow.
And so.
But in that life, Allie, he sustained a brain injury.
I had a brain injury.
Forgot everything. I mean, the synchronicity linkage, you could go on and on and on, especially me, because I have a tendency to make a long story even longer. But there's all kinds of explanations for some of the things that your listeners might be thinking, well, what about this and what about this? And really everything does link itself together, as it does for all of your viewers and your listeners' lives also. Everything eventually kind of links itself together. I think we try not to get overwhelmed with by our altered egos demanding that and needing that for resolution, but simply just allowing some of that to come through, and we kind of laugh about it and think it's fun.
We have to laugh about it because it would occupy all our time.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Of course. And do you, Bradley, ever have like vocalized Julius, aside from the odd word here or there, just like Kasey does, though?
Yeah. There's times in conversation with some people that they'll tell them that they will come back later after we've had conversations, especially here at the facility that we have, when we get into one-on-one conversations with some of the students or people that are visiting. They'll swear up and down that there's a transition that takes place.
Okay.
So you have to remember, Allie, or not remember, I will make this statement. Julius is a collective.
They're a collective.
Now, there is a dominant personality by the name of Julius that comes through, and that's predominantly the personality that I channel. But there's 48 other members that can come through. So Brad doesn't necessarily receive the personality of Julius. Some of the softer ones can come through, some of the variational personalities. I will occasionally channel one of the other ones, and kind of takes a fine-tuned mechanism for one of our students to notice that I'm channeling one of the other members. But
especially if the female starts coming. When the female starts coming through, the students immediately go, oh, okay, here we go. We've got a different energy, giving us information now.
Absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating. And just to go back to your brain injury, Brad, how long did it take before you actually fully recovered?
Well, I'm not completely, totally, fully recovered, believe it or not.
I understand that after brain injuries, you'll still have problems.
About 3 years. About 3 years.
Yeah.
It took about 3 years for me
to
get.
Long time.
Yeah, to a point to where I could at least function in public.
Yeah, and then it was progressive. I'm going to say he was what most people would be able to not think there was anything wrong with Brad. It took about 5 years. Otherwise, he was still fumbling and stumbling over his words. He would lose his balance and fall. And of course, his behavior was very, very unpredictable. He could just fly off the handle, for a lot of things. So I was a buffer. It was kind of exhausting in some levels for the first 5 years because of having to be a buffer for him on many, many different things. But in ultimate truth, Allie, it just is. And it, of course, allows the bonding effect to be very deep, the opportunity for non-judgment to be experienced, for compassion to come through. Like Julius always says, nothing happens to you, everything happens for you. And so, it's remarkable. What is really, really expandable and useful from that is Brad is very, very understanding and relatable to people who have limitations, who've had an accident, who have post-traumatic, because a brain injury has the same
side effects
and emotional responses as post-traumatic for most things.
So it was one of his lessons in life, in this lifetime, in other words.
Yes, no doubt.
Sure.
No doubt.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness. It's such an absolute, I could sit here and talk to you.
Yeah, it's funny because some people are like, oh, you just want to talk about your story. And I'm like, well, I hope that it's inspiring, because I think what we really want to convey to people is, first of all, we are normal people.
We're normal.
We are normal people. I was a hairdresser. He was a construction worker. You know,
I got dirt under my fingernails. I've been, we work on a farm.
Yeah, I mean, the explosion of what we do is nothing less than the byproduct of hard work, diligence, like all of you out there, for whatever you're driven for in your life. Julius does not pave the way for us or fix anything. In fact, Brad's gotten very angry with them about that. Very early on, we just thought that Julius was going to
I thought they were the fake soul.
Of course, they were going to wave this wand to success for us, and billions of dollars were just going to show up. And Julius kept telling Brad, well, we're not the ones that need to know that we're God. So, so then Brad would get mad, and but I want that to be inspirational for people, because it's not about only particular people, who are blessed, or only particular people who have gifts. It's all of us. We are all the same energy, and we want all of you to do your thing. Don't do my thing. Do your thing. Do it
your way.
And that authentic platform is where all of that joy and satisfaction starts to fill our lives up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can I ask if your families are around you, parents and things like that, what they thought of the whole thing? And also, before I forget,
we aren't going to tell you, but no, I'm just kidding.
If Julius has a really good sense of humor as well, because he or they do. Yeah,
very wicked.
We have to edit out some of the
very wicked sense of humor, and they love to swear.
Yeah. Yeah.
They love to swear.
Good. I'm Irish. I like them already.
Well, it really does create a little bit of a controversy, because some people.
Well, now that we're out there as much as we are, we have to do a lot of film editing now.
We have to edit a lot of stuff.
And when we're a live audience with Julius, Brad will usually have to kind of forewarn the audience, though Julius has gotten better about editing themselves. Depending on how passionate they are with the energy, there's going to be a few slips of the tongue. And we just ask everybody, to be patient with that. It kind of just works itself out.
But as far as family goes,
you get to tell them about your family. Your family's the weird one.
My family disowns me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Completely because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes against the religion of the family, of course.
They don't want to be near me. They don't want to be around me. I already know what they're going to say anyway. That's what drives them crazy.
What religion are they, Brad?
What's that?
What religion are they?
Mormon.
Okay. So it goes against that religion, does it?
Completely goes contrary to the religion.
Yeah.
Only a select few have a gift to hear voices and those types of things, and it's certainly not about empowerment.
Yeah.
You have a set of rules that you have to live by, and that, I think what drives them crazy is I already know what they're going to say before they ever say it, and I already have the answer, and they don't know what to do about that. And so it's just easier for me not to be involved with them instead of keeping the constant turmoil and repeating the same thing over and over again. They've tried very hard to trip us up. We live in Utah, which is a pretty dominant Mormon state here in the United States. And so you get tested quite a bit, because everybody just wants you to be wrong. They really do. You can't be right. It just can't be that way. And so
limiting beliefs, eh?
Yeah, limiting beliefs. Very good. That's a very good answer. And that's a good way to put it. It's very limited. You're very limited in your thinking. As far as Kasey's children go, she has an absolutely wonderful experience with her children.
Well, my children are my children, so they grew
they're
up with
hers.
me having intuitive gifts. Not that they all three fully embrace the weirdness that mom is.
But they all have the gift too.
That's true. And the fact that mom puts it out there for everybody to see, for God's sakes, and doesn't keep it in the spiritual closet, you know, and the fact that I've come out of the spiritual closet in front of everybody. Of course, as I have not faltered from who I am, that always assists others in their acceptance. So I want to say that again, because I think that's very, very important.
It's very important.
Others will falter in who you are based on your faltering of who you are. Once you own it and you are not seeking approval from another, it's kind of amazing how you'll get a little more support from the other side. Really, quite frankly, it doesn't matter, so you don't even have to measure that anymore. But what I think, and I hope that I do show my children, is to own who you are, whoever that is. I had a conversation with my oldest daughter, the same daughter, Kimberly, who's now in her early 30s. Recently was something in her life, and I remember saying to her, don't forget, you're a powerhouse. You are a powerhouse being. And then she said, you know, back to me, well, you showed me, Mom, you know, how to do that. So that makes me feel really, really good. That doesn't really have anything to do with me channeling Julius.
Yeah.
It's just the ownership of who we are, which I've had to learn to do. I ran from this. I didn't tell anybody I was a clear voice channel for an ascended masters group named Julius. And what do you do for a living? You know, I mean, everybody's like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a hairdresser. I have hair salon. You know, I mean, I didn't want to own it for a long time, but the minute I did,
yep, your life changed.
It was crazy.
Your life totally changed.
Things started working that weren't working before, and the connections, and I was like, and there's that message of empowerment and creating your life based on your trajectory system of your knowing. And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Allie, I've used an analogy for many years in some of our discussions with people. We drive a train, and some people jump on it and go along for a ride, and you know, they're comfortable for a little while, and then they just get uncomfortable and they want to get off. But there's others, man, that they're still on that train.
Yeah.
And that train's empowerment. It's empowerment for everybody. Now, you may be the driver of the train, you might be the engine of that train, you might be clearing the back of the caboose for that train, but you're still on that train. It's up to you to decide whether you want to lead or whether you want to be at the rear, but somewhere you're in there, no matter where you're at in your lifetime. And everyone's on that train, no matter how you look at it. And so it's just easier for us to keep empowering people and keep driving people to do what they do and be who they are. But man, you own it.
Yeah.
You own who you are.
Yeah, you rock that weirdness.
And you never have to look back when you own it.
Yeah. We're now blessed with 5 grandchildren.
Yeah.
5
wow.
grandchildren all this time.
Fabulous.
Yeah, and of course they all have their superpower intuitive gifts that they are presenting to the world in their own timeline and in their own personality.
Watch out,
so
world.
It's fun.
Here they come.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And what ages are they?
So the oldest one is almost 12. So 12, 9, 5, 1, and 1 is almost here. So that one is already here energetically. So our last little girl.
We know who she is, and we know what
she
she's going to do.
Reincarnation, and she's going to have that super powerhouse personality as she arrives. So everything continues, right? Everything continues.
That's so exciting. That's so exciting. Yeah. Fantastic. I wanted to talk to you guys and have you talk to the audience a little bit about the fact that you've got an amazing property called Wind Chime Farms, which just sounds so dreamy and mystical, and you know, I can just see all the wind chimes blowing around.
They are.
And I know you do retreats there. So do you want to tell everybody a little bit about, you know, your retreats that you host there? I know you also do like one-to-ones and workshops and all of that. If you want to tell everybody a little bit about those few things, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. Before you say anything, well, you have to understand. Yeah, let me set the stage first, okay?
Yeah.
You have to understand we're in southern Utah, and Utah is really kind of known for its national parks and for its wonderful getaway areas and places you can hike, and the deep canyons and the red rocks and well, we have all of that basically in our backyard.
Sounds amazing.
Within about 10 minutes from where we live, up in the base of we live at the base of a mountain, there's rivers and big black volcanic gorges and lots of vortexes and energy that all leads down into the red canyons and the red rocks. And people that come here,
sounds a bit like Sedona.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a small Sedona is actually what it is. And one of the parks that we actually like to go to is just a state park. It's not very well known like the national park, Zion, but the state park actually has vortexes that run through it, and it's got its own energy. And so we utilize that a lot in a lot of the programming that we do.
Wow.
Yeah, so the little property that we have is about 5 acres in size. And we, of course, like all the other practitioners, we were trying to have workshops and retreats, and the cost factor was kind of off the chart. You rent a place, you're hoping you're going to fill those seats. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. We know how that all goes.
Yeah.
And it was draining. You know, it's energetically draining. It can be financially draining, just that constant coin toss, you know, of whether we should do things. So because we own the property, Brad and I, to put on our hard hats. Remember, Brad's a contractor. But last summer, we're just coming out of a year ago, we installed our own cabins and pavilion and guest cottage and what we call, what is TJ calls it, the clubhouse, the little clubhouse that we meet in. The property is beautiful. It has beautiful gardens. We also rescue animals. I rescue exotic birds. So I have about 30 parrots here on the property. So they're in their aviaries and adds to the super cool ambiance. So we do our own thing right here on our property. Yeah. The investment on that is, you know, easily accounted for. It, you know, it ups the property value of the home and blah, 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 blah. But it just also provides a seamless easement for people to come here for our retreats. So on a regular basis, we do weekends with Julius. That's about a quarterly thing. Students come here. It's a 2-day retreat that Julius hosts on any variable subjects relevant to what you're doing.
We try to pattern that event around the lunar equinox.
Okay. Yeah, and the seasons.
Okay. And the seasons. Mm-hmm. We get all 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, each season has its own energy and there's a utilization that we need to use as human beings to actually help our bodies that we take advantage of. We've gotten some information from Julius about that. So we programmed this program around that.
Wow. Wow.
We also do a very, very intense healing program called R Factoring. We do that twice a year. Students come here for a 4-day intensified healing workshop. That one's heavy duty, heavily marked in a lot of energy, a lot of inner work. It's letting go of the seeding components of fear that sit in our energetic gridding system around and affect our perceptions. So we do the R Factoring workshop here. We also do virtual workshops. In fact, we're right in the middle of a virtual workshop for anybody who wants to check that out on the website. So Julius does virtual workshops online that allows people who can't travel, who can't afford to travel. We have students in Singapore and in India and in Europe and stuff, in Australia that do come. But for some people, that's just not reasonable. And so Julius, we've started doing virtual retreats, which are really, really fun. And then like you said, Allie, we do monthly programming. We have an academy. We have teaching academies. We have work courses and classes. Everything is about you learning how to tangibly work yourself into high states of consciousness so that your life changes.
Wow, that sounds amazing. How many cabins do you have on the property?
So we have 4 cabins. They're double sleep cabins, and then the clubhouse also has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms in it. So we can comfortably sleep about 15 people.
Wow.
Then what we do for the overspill is, thanks to now the new technology of Airbnb and VRBO, several of the homes around us
have taken advantage of the opportunity that we created.
Yeah, so we'll rent those homes.
So we'll rent their homes out, and of course they love us.
Yeah, for the overspill.
Yeah, we did that for our retreat here when we had overspill. We used actually a local hotel, a local small family hotel, which was great.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely incredible. So everybody can check that out on your website, and then we will give details at the end. And of course, they'll be up on the YouTube channel and on the podcast as well.
Yeah, and then last year we embarked on another crazy thing, because I tell everybody,
we're always doing something.
The dangerous thing about what we do is Brad, in that if he has 5 minutes alone to think of something new, the whole staff gets nervous, because the minute he comes in with, I think I've got an idea, we all
Everybody
just
panics.
cringe.
Hey, Brad, I am the you in your couple, because I do the same to my husband. I literally get an idea and I post about it on Facebook. And my husband comes home, Paul, and I go, honey, and he goes, what have you done?
So we were struggling to find a really large platform for ourselves.
Well, we have so much product.
We do. We have a lot of product. So we have over 400 courses that people can choose from Julius, because Julius is constantly putting out new information. So we couldn't find a really big platform to be accepted on. I won't mention any names, but there's the primary spiritual network out there that practitioners dream about getting on their platform, and we just couldn't get in. We just kept getting the runaround from them, from many different reasons. We just didn't belong there, obviously. At the time, we didn't realize that. We were getting frustrated with not being accepted on that platform. And so Brad got this great idea to just get our own content up. We had a technical team that was fully capable of getting a channel created for us on Roku and Fire television, just a channel, okay? Takes quite a lot of technology to know how to do that. And but one of our people was a super nerd, and they knew exactly how to do it. So we started loading Julius's programming on a channel. We were really clever. We called it the Julius Channel, right? Because I channeled Julius and the Julius. Anyway, so we thought we were really clever, right? And then Julius came through and said, no,
you're not.
You're supposed to have your own network. Start
your own network.
Television network.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? No. What? I'm like, are you nuts? And of course, Julius said to us, well, just remember that professionals built the Titanic and an amateur built the Ark.
Okay. So that is how the Expansion Network was born.
Yeah, and we, again, we pretty much just worked for selfish reasons, thinking it was just going to all be about exposing Julius. And Julius said, absolutely not. This is a platform for every practitioner out there who's ever dreamed of being able to get out there on a mass scale that doesn't meet the email list requirement, the financial status requirement, the whatever, that is authentically gifted. This is that opportunity of, you get where you're going and you turn around and you help the next guy thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what Expansion Network has become. So again, it's the full television network. This is not a podcast. This is a television network. It's got the Roku and the Fire TV platform, as well as all the social media stuff. So that's a year old. So we never sleep, basically.
Well, it's actually not even a year old yet.
That's true. It'll be a year in February.
It'll be a year in February, this coming February.
Congratulations on that. But for those of us who, and I know you've explained it to me a few times, but I still can't quite grasp it. So if I was in America and I turned on my TV and I had like a Fire Stick and I put that in, I would get the specific channels, and there you might pop up Expand with Julius. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, it's Expansion Network actually shows up because it's its own channel. Okay, does that make sense?
Okay.
It's like CBS ABC, NBC,
It's its own.
Okay.
Netflix.
Okay.
Each one of those is its own channel, and within that channel is all this programming. Does that make sense?
So not just you right now, as you said as well, it's all these other spiritual teachers and leaders as well that you're bringing on board to share their enlightenment and bring their gifts to the world.
Yeah, and we have different categories for where different practitioners will go into. Different types of shows and different categories. We're always creating more categories.
We are expanding and we're growing.
We're looking to have just a category for authors, even though we include a lot of the author interviewing on a couple of different shows that are on the network. We want to create an exclusive programming stream, just for authors. There's so many authors out there.
Wow.
But we want to make clear to everybody who's watching how it's spelled. It's spelled XPNSION network, not EXP. It's XPSION.
XPNSION.
So they can type that in and search it. Same thing with the Roku television. You just go into Roku on your television and you type in Expansion Network and boom, and you get it. You get it. Yeah.
And
go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
And to add to that, we are working on getting our what we call an app. If anybody is understandable of what an app is, because of the changes that are coming about in the industry worldwide, you've got to have an app if you want to be out on the devices with everybody. And so we're getting the app developed and soon, because it's a process. Soon we will have an app, and that app will allow us to be on every handheld device, every tablet, every anything that has a computer in it. We'll be able to put programming up on it.
Yeah, everybody can get all this information on our main website that we have too. So everything is accessible for you.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. And the people, the light workers, or if you want to call them, I don't really like that term, but anyway, I know a lot of people use it. Spiritual teachers, people who are enlightened, that go on the channel, do they do their own specific program, or is it something that you say, I'd like you to talk about this week and go ahead, that's your program for the week?
No, unlike other networks that are out there, we created a network, Allie, that we would want to be on. Okay, so we're like, because we are practitioners, we would look for this, we would look for that. So we tried to create the ultimate platform for you. First thing, there's no long-term contract. It's a 6-month contract.
It's a 6-month ownership contract.
And you do not pay it all up front at the beginning, like they all make you do. So you don't do that. You create your show. So you actually are your own production team. Our production team can assist, with some suggestions for you, but all you do is submit a topic of your show to us so we can properly categorize you on the network. Obviously, the parameters is it has to be family friendly. That's the rule of Roku and Fire TV. So we have to keep things appropriate. We know some practitioners do a lot of energy work in sexual energy. We can't have that on the network. It has to be what they call family friendly on that.
That's the rules. Yeah. Sorry guys, that's just the rules.
Yeah, but you're your own super cool thing. Basically, of course, that means no foul language. That's a problem for me. Julius has to be edited all the time. I have a full-time person who just edits Julius content. But that's pretty much it. We own your product for the duration that it's on the network. When you cancel your contract, you get it all back. You can have it back. I don't want it. You can do whatever you want with it.
I don't want to store it.
That's also unique because most networks don't allow you to do that. And you are allowed to promote yourself in the programming. In other networks, you can't talk about your website. You can't talk about currently what you have on. We want you to do that. I want you to make billions of dollars and do what you do because we need to get all of this stuff out there to create this extraordinary change. And I'm not competing with you in any way, shape, or form. So we give everybody the parameters of how they're able to speak their own promotions. You can speak and direct people to your websites or have a banner in the background.
Yeah.
You can't embed anything in the programming because Roku and Fire TV embed their own advertisement in it.
They do their own
because
advertising.
we're rolling on that, so we can't do the threaded embedment stuff. So you have to speak it or you have to have it visual in your program. We go through all of that with you.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much for explaining all of that to us.
Yeah, and we have a book.
Yeah, I was just going to.
What else do we have going on?
We have a lot.
You have a book called Who You Are Now Being.
Yeah, Who You Are Being. It's an it's hit the international bestseller list. It was on that list for 2 weeks. We were really excited. You can pick it up on Amazon. And of course, this is a 4-year collaboration of a lot of Julius's teachings. So if anybody wants to maybe dive into some Julius or get some deeper information about our story and stuff, they can pick that book up on Amazon.
We can't really see the cover.
Sorry,
Kasey.
let's get it out there. Let's get it there. There we go.
That's a bit better. Yeah, I can see it better there. I know we can see it on your website even better.
Yeah.
Oh, that's much better. Yeah.
Okay.
Who You Are Being. Fantastic.
Okay.
Congratulations, guys, on that.
327 pages.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Good
Well
book.
done.
It's a good book.
Well done. And I know that you have both spoken about empowerment, and I'm kind of picking up that that's one of Julius's main messages. What other message does Julius bring for us, and would they like to have a little bit of a chat with us before we get all your details and you leave us, because I know that we've met you for quite a while.
So, Master, the message of the all that ascends and allows and expands is that you are the power that you seek. You are the power you draw from. You are that which is created from. That is a truth. For you are a combined fractalized version of the all, Masters. You are not just sons and daughters of that which is so. You are not just particles of that which is so. You are that full, authentic energy. This light being is a fractalized version of that light, but like all fractals, you could never be separated or individualized from the collective of that which is. That's what you have forgotten. You have at best come to a truth that you're pretty sure you're part of this massive energy, but we are telling you you are the energy you believe you're a part of. This is massive, because in the knowing and accepting of all of this truth, you become what you know, Masters. It is the resolve that brings about the change and the shift and the evolution and the possibility of wherever you can carry your thoughts and demonstrate them through the expansiveness of your perceptions. When you come back to this knowing, it does not create arrogance. It does not create need. It creates compassion and understanding and honor and love in a state of frequency that is currently immeasurable to your finite human mind. But as we bring back this knowing to you, not teach you, Masters, but unleash and unravel that which you already know, the joy and fulfillment in your life that you shall and do experience is that which all fractalized beings seek. Then you, of course, will shed and spread and demonstrate and inspire and become, because you know that those fractals are you. You are loved beyond measure. You have never been separate. You are not lost. You cannot be detached. That has been a limited truth embedded upon you by those who desire to control you, but you can shift out of that limitation into the massive expansiveness of the all. And if we can assist you, then that brings us joy at an elevated state that is immeasurable also. But Masters, whatever your pathway, do it with joy, do it with enthusiasm, do it with your whole heart and your whole beingness, so that it can become embodied in your truth and you do not have to repeat ever again, but may continue into a possibility that you cannot even seek yet. The moment of now is it. The moment is now. It is all here, and you are all that it is. That is our message for you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Julius. Thank you for that. What a fantastic message. Thank you. I'd like to let the listeners know as well that very kindly Sue, who works for you guys, has sent a free gift for the audience very kindly from you both. So thank you very much for that. It's a 6-part video series called Your Empowerment Explains Everything. And we'll give the link on the YouTube channel and the podcast. So thank you so much for that. I'd like to say to you, Brad and Kasey, would you like to leave the listeners with one of your own pieces of advice, maybe each? And then if you could give us all the best places that everybody could contact you, your website, your YouTube channel, your expansion network, all the places, and where they can get your book as well. I think you said Amazon.
You know, we're living in an existence now on this earthship of opportunity, although there's so many things that look limiting, and there are so many things that are challenging and difficult. That is only one possibility that's here. The other possibilities is the opportunity to showcase and be, to come back to really who we are. We've been punished from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime, but we can do this now, and you're here. So you came knowing this from your soul. We're going to help muster that bravery, you know, for you, and be in alignment for you. You are more powerful than you've ever dreamt that you are, and it's really fun and exciting when you start experiencing some of the possibility of that. Beautiful. Thank you, Kasey. Right. How about you? Don't let anything hold you back, right? I don't think he will.
No, there was a comment that Julius made to me very early on, that when you go searching for whatever it is that you're searching for, go walk into your room that has a mirror and answer the person who's staring back at you through the mirror, because that's who you're searching for.
Perfect.
It's you.
Yeah.
And when you can have a conversation with that person through the mirror, you're on your way. Yeah. And I don't believe I need to say any more than that, otherwise I'll start crying. So,
that was beautiful. Thank you so much, both of you.
That's who you're searching for.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Self-love all the way.
Yeah. Everybody can find us on our primary website, expandwithjulius.com. All kinds of information there.
Social media, yeah. Facebook, Expand with Julius, Expansion Network. We're on every social media site there is.
Yeah, we have free shows every month. There's lots of free content for people to dabble with Julius a little bit. Everything from platforms of free to very, very minimal pricing to investments in yourself for the retreats and the workshops. Anything that suits your needs or your place of what I call readiment, when we're ready to really start investing in ourselves and in our empowerment. It's there, for you. And even if it's not a place that you stay, we hope you enjoy visiting and find something delightful for yourself there.
Our website is fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get lost in our website.
Yeah.
And it's got so much stuff in it.
Yeah.
And all the answers to everything that we have going on, everything that we've got coming up, all the things that we do, it's all there in that website. And that's expandwithjulius.com.
Beautiful. Well, I'd like to say thank you so much, Brad and Kasey, for sharing your own personal story with us today, and also for bringing Julius through as well for some advice for the listeners. It's fantastic to have 40, how many of you here?
Too many to count, right? It's just that powerhouse of personality that comes in.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I know you're such busy people. It's an absolute privilege and an honor to have had you here today with me. So thank you so much, Brad and Kasey Wallace. Namaste.
Namaste.
And goodbye to the listeners. Thank you.